Welcome, beloved anointed ones. Some people lie with words, others lie with silence. But the most dangerous ones, they lie with smiles, and they hate that your spirit sees through it. Let me tell you something that'll make your jaw drop. Studies have shown that the human gut has over 500 million neurons, basically a second brain. That means when your stomach flips around certain people, it's not just anxiety, it's intelligence. Spiritual intelligence. Your intuition isn't random. It's wired. It's real. It's ancient tech from the divine. And guess what? Yours is on fire lately. No, seriously. You're scaring people out here. They're whispering. They're checking their energy before they speak around you. Why? Because you're starting to catch things they never said. You're showing up in rooms like a walking spiritual polygraph test, and folks are fumbling their rehearsed stories like actors forgetting their lines mid-performance. Your intuition has them shook, and you haven't even said a word yet. But let's be honest, it wasn't always like this. There was a time you doubted your gut, gaslighted your own insight, but now, you're not just picking up red flags. You're spotting the stitching, the manufacturer, and the entire factory that produced them. And what makes this so deliciously awkward is that these people didn't expect the quiet one to become the seer. They thought you were naive, easy to manipulate, easy to fool, jokes on them. Your silence was never weakness. It was data collection. Now, the download is complete. The veil is gone. You feel what's fake before it even forms into words. So buckle up, because in this video, we're diving into 14 brutal, extraordinary truths about what's really going on now that your intuition is lit like a spiritual wildfire, and why folks can't stop talking about it, even when they try to act like they ain't watching. Let's expose the frequency. Number 1. Your intuition is not just a gift. It's a surveillance system that threatens their secrets. You're not just intuitive. You've become a spiritual surveillance system, and it's got people sweating. Lately, your energy doesn't just walk into a room, it scans it. People can feel that you're not just present, you're perceiving. And that makes them nervous. Why? Because deep down they know they've got things to hide, and your intuition is making it impossible to keep pretending. You're seeing what's really going on, not just what they want you to see. You don't need anyone to confess anymore. You already know. Their tone is off. Their eyes twitch. Their energy shifts. You feel the hesitation in their voice, the way they avoid certain topics, the way they rush past uncomfortable truths. It all registers. Every signal, every frequency, every crack in the mask. You don't even try to catch it. It comes to you now. That's what scares them. You're not guessing. You're not paranoid. You're not overthinking. You're spot on. It's like you've been gifted this divine radar, and now you're catching secrets people thought they buried. They thought they had time. They thought they could manipulate you a little longer. But your spirit started pulling back the curtain. Quietly. Precisely. And without warning. They've started changing their behavior around you. And it's not because you're intimidating. It's because they feel exposed. Your energy is like a spiritual spotlight, and anyone with hidden intentions starts fumbling as soon as you're around. The guilt rises to the surface. The truth starts leaking out. You're not just intuitive, you're a mirror. And when certain people look into you, they see everything they tried to hide. It's wild how people act like you said something when all you did was see it. That's the power of your intuition now. It doesn't need an announcement. It speaks in silence. It speaks in stillness. And what it's saying is, I know. And that simple knowing, that unspoken truth sitting in your eyes, is what's making people talk. Behind closed doors, in whispered voices. Because deep down, they realize they're being watched by something they can't fool anymore. And that something is you. Number 2, you're not guessing. You're accessing the field. They've been trying to hack. You're not guessing. You're not overthinking. You're accessing. That's what people don't get. Your intuition isn't just some gut feeling floating around in the air. It's plugged into something ancient, something real. You're connected to a frequency most people can't hear because they're too distracted, too numb, too programmed to trust the surface. But you You've started pulling from the source itself. You're downloading truths straight from the field, raw, unfiltered, and painfully accurate. That's why folks are uncomfortable around you now. Because what you randomly feel, they've been strategically hiding. And you don't even need receipts. You can feel the truth in your chest before the evidence shows up. You're tapping into divine intelligence like a hidden satellite, picking up everything. The fear, the intentions, the jealousy, the shade behind the compliment. It all lands in your spirit before they've even finished the sentence. This kind of knowing makes people uneasy. It challenges the performance. You're not playing by the rules of perception anymore. You're seeing through the veil, while everyone else is still stuck on the stage lights. And when someone's entire identity is built on illusion, your presence alone becomes threatening. Because your spirit doesn't clap for the mask. It scans the energy behind it. You're not intuitive by accident. It's not some random gift that makes you empathic. It's a spiritual inheritance. It's cosmic memory waking up in real time. You don't just feel things, you remember them, even when you've never lived them in this lifetime. That's why you've been spot on lately. That's why you can sense betrayal before it's planned, or feel tension building before it explodes. You're ahead of time. You're accessing data from a higher dimension and pulling it into this one. And you don't even realize how powerful that makes you yet. But they do. They see it. They feel it. And it terrifies them. Because they're finally realizing they can't hide behind charm, smiles, or lies anymore. Not with you. You've bypassed the physical. You're not watching. You're tuned in. And every single time your spirit flinches, it's not insecurity. It's a direct download from the source itself. Number 3, you're picking up on things that haven't even happened yet. And it's freaking people out. You're not just picking up on energy. You're picking up on events before they even happen. And that's not something people are used to. That's why they look at you sideways when you suddenly distance yourself from someone they thought you were close to. That's why you get labeled moody or too deep. Because your intuition reacts before the situation even unfolds. It's not that you're creating drama. It's that your spirit is sensing what's coming. And it's protecting you in advance. What you've tapped into is something most people can't explain. It's not just awareness, it's pre-awareness. Your spirit already knows the conversation that's about to happen, the shift in loyalty, the storm brewing behind someone's calm tone. You don't need to overhear a thing, you just know. And that kind of foresight makes people uncomfortable, especially the ones who are planning to betray you in the near future. Your intuition isn't reacting to what's already happened. It's moving ahead of time. That's why you felt anxious around certain people, even when they haven't done anything wrong. That's why you felt heavy in rooms where nothing was said out loud. Your spirit isn't being dramatic. It's warning you. And if you look back, you'll notice that every time you ignored that quiet nudge, something blew up later. Something came to light. Something proved that your gut wasn't lying to you. People don't like that about you. They don't like that you feel the fallout before the explosion. That you can walk away before they've even started the manipulation. That you can feel someone pulling away before they physically leave. They want to catch you off guard, but your intuition ruins their timing every time. You're 10 steps ahead, not because you're paranoid, but because your spiritual senses are on fire. That's why they say you've changed. That's why they say you're different. What they really mean is you're harder to fool now. You don't wait for the lie. You sense the intention behind it. And once your spirit picks up on that energy, there's no going back. You don't need to be told what's coming. You already feel it. Number 4, you're becoming a walking lie detector. And it's driving manipulators insane. They used to be so confident, smooth with their words, calculated with their timing. They knew exactly which button to press, which phrase to say, how to twist the story just enough to make you question yourself. But now, it's different. They can't breathe easy around you anymore because your intuition has become razor sharp, and they can feel it cutting through their performance like a blade. They try to keep the same script, but it's not landing like it used to. You're not just listening to what they say, you're hearing what they're not saying. The hesitation before they speak, the shift in eye contact, the energy drop after a fake compliment. It all hits your spirit like a warning bell. You've become so tuned in that even when their words are perfect, their vibe exposes them, and they hate that. What drives them mad is that you're not calling them out in dramatic ways. You're just not playing along anymore. You respond with silence, with stillness, with that knowing look that says, "I saw that," and it throws them completely off balance, because without your emotional reactions to feed on, they lose control of the scene they were trying to direct. They're used to confusion, tears, defensiveness, not calm clarity, and that's exactly what breaks them down. You've trained yourself to stop explaining your instincts to people who benefit from you second-guessing them. You no longer wait for proof to validate what your soul already confirmed, and that's what makes you dangerous to liars. Your trust in yourself is unshakable now. You don't need them to confess. You don't need closure. You don't need anyone to believe you. You already know. They can feel that truth sitting in your energy like a loaded weapon. It makes manipulators stutter. It makes deceivers retreat, because when someone can't be lied to, they become a threat to everyone living behind a mask. And right now, you are that threat. A walking lie detector, calm, composed, and no longer easily fooled. Number 5, you don't just hear people anymore. You feel their motives. You're not just listening to people anymore. You're tuning into their frequency, and that shift, it's messing people up. Because now, you don't need anyone to say the wrong thing for you to know something's off. You feel it, deep in your spirit. Their words might be sweet, but the energy behind them makes your soul flinch. And that's the part they can't control. Their motive is louder than their voice. People are starting to notice that you look at them differently now. You're quieter, more still, but more intense. That's because you're no longer distracted by what's being said. You're studying tone, timing, breathing, posture, eyes, everything that leaks the truth while their mouth tells a story. You can feel when someone's praising you just to control you later. You can tell when someone's checking on you just to measure your vulnerability. You feel the manipulation before they even deliver the message. And it's freaking them out, because most people aren't used to being felt. They're used to being heard, misunderstood, or blindly trusted. But now they have to face the fact that your presence is like a spiritual metal detector, and their hidden motives keep setting it off. What's worse, you don't even call them out. You just pull back, shift your energy, set boundaries they didn't see coming. That's what makes them panic. They don't know what you picked up on, but they know you picked up something. This is what happens when your intuition levels up. You stop asking, "What did they mean by that?" and start knowing exactly what they meant, even when they tried to hide it. You're not guessing anymore. You're discerning. You're locked in. Their nervous laugh, the way their eyes dart, the tension behind their kind words. You register it all, and your spirit files it away instantly. People are scared of your new way of listening because they know it comes from alignment, and alignment can't be fooled. They don't fear your ears. They fear your awareness. Because once you feel someone's real motive, there's no mask, no charm, no lie big enough to cover it up. Number 6, you're ruining their scripts. Because you know what they're about to say before they say it. They don't stand a chance anymore. Not with the version of you that's awake now. People used to come at you with rehearsed lines, carefully chosen words, and well-timed emotions. They had their stories polished, their tones sweetened, their faces trained to match the lie. But now, before they can even get through the first sentence, you're already ahead of them. You're catching the play before the scene starts, and that's throwing them completely off. They're used to being in control of the narrative, used to steering your reactions, planting seeds of doubt, and shaping how you see things. But your intuition has turned all of that upside down. You respond in ways they didn't plan for. You ask the question they hoped you wouldn't. You shift the energy without raising your voice, and suddenly, the role they were trying to play doesn't fit anymore. You've messed up the entire performance, and you did it without even raising your eyebrows. They were banking on your silence, on your old habit of giving people the benefit of the doubt. But that blank stare you give now, that isn't confusion. That's you doing a full spiritual scan. That's you feeling the vibrations underneath the script. You're not confused. You're clocking every lie in real time. And what's terrifying for them is that you don't even need to expose them publicly. The fact that you're not buying it is enough to knock their entire performance off the rails. This is what real power looks like. You're no longer waiting for the lie to unfold. You intercept it. Mid-sentence, mid-move, mid-manipulation. And because you don't react how they expected, they start fumbling, repeating themselves, contradicting their own story. You see the panic rise behind their eyes because their control is slipping, and they know it. What they can't handle is that you're no longer emotionally accessible to their game. You're not easily shocked, not easily guilted, not easily baited. And once they realize you already know what they were about to say, that you felt the lie forming before it left their mouth, they don't know what to do with you anymore. You've broken the script, and they have no improvisation skills. Number 7, they're calling you crazy now because you're no longer controllable. The moment you stopped being easy to manipulate, the narrative flipped. When you were naive, overly trusting, and second-guessing yourself, they loved you. You were kind, pure, such a good soul. But now that you're awake, now that you actually see, they've got a new label for you, crazy. That's the go-to word for people who've lost control of the version of you they created. You're not crazy, you're clear. And that clarity has made you a threat. They can't handle the fact that you no longer respond the way you used to. You don't let things slide. You don't laugh off the disrespect. You're not shrinking yourself to keep the peace. You've changed. But it's not the kind of change that makes them proud. It's the kind that makes them uncomfortable, because now they can't predict you. They can't gaslight you, and they definitely can't puppet you. So what do? They try to discredit your discernment. They slap the too sensitive, too spiritual, paranoid, or delusional label on you, hoping it'll scare you back into submission. They want you to start doubting yourself again, to go quiet again, to fall back in line. But it's not working this time. You're not walking around with your spirit blindfolded anymore. You've realized that most people don't actually want you to grow. They want you to stay in the version of yourself that made them comfortable. The version that didn't ask questions, didn't confront energy shifts, and didn't say no. But the moment your vision sharpened and your spirit started speaking louder than their words, you became uncontrollable. And to people who rely on control, your freedom looks like insanity. Let them talk. Let them spin their story. At the end of the day, being called crazy by someone who once fed off your silence is just confirmation that you're no longer under their spell. You're not crazy. You're clear-minded, rooted, and finally walking in truth. And that's something they never wanted you to find. Number 8. Your intuition is triggering their shadows. Your intuition isn't just sharp, it's disruptive, not in a loud, chaotic way, but in a quiet, exposing way that makes people uncomfortable without even knowing why. You walk into a space and things start to shift. Conversations change, eyes avoid yours. People get defensive even when you haven't said a single word. And it's not because you're doing anything to them. It's because your presence is pulling their suppressed truth to the surface. What you're triggering in people is their own hidden self, the parts they've been avoiding, denying, or hiding behind charm and performance. Your energy now functions like a mirror, a clear one they didn't ask to look into, but they can't help it. When your spirit is around, they feel seen, not the version they crafted for the world, but the version they buried beneath ego, trauma, and image. And that scares them. They'll start projecting, saying you make them feel judged, or that you're too intense. But it's not judgment they're feeling, it's recognition. Their shadow is flinching because it's being exposed. They know you can't be lied to. They know you don't fall for surface-level connections. So when they show up with energy that doesn't match their words, your intuition catches it instantly, and they feel naked. That's why some people pull away from you without explanation. That's why others start gossiping, shifting blame, or flipping the script to make you look like the problem. Because if they can't hide from your intuition, they'll try to attack it. Not because it's wrong, but because it's right, dead right. And being around someone who sees the truth that clearly is uncomfortable for those who have built their lives around hiding it. You're not triggering people on purpose. You're just being aligned. But alignment always reveals what's out of alignment. You don't need to accuse, prove, or preach. The frequency you carry does the exposing for you. And those who aren't ready to face their shadow will always mistake that exposure for attack, not realizing that it was never about you. It was about what your light revealed in them. Number 9, you're intercepting energy. They tried to cloak. You used to be the one in the dark, always second-guessing your feelings, brushing off weird vibes as just your imagination. You gave people the benefit of the doubt, even when your spirit was screaming at you. But now, you're not waiting for red flags. You're reading the frequency before the flag even waves. You don't need explanations or confessions. You feel what's off the second you step into a room, sometimes before you even get there. What you've unlocked isn't paranoia. It's precision. You've started picking up on the energy people try to cloak, the tension in their body, the shift in their voice, the spiritual residue they carry from the thoughts they think no one knows about. You walk in and it's like your soul goes into detective mode. The room doesn't feel quiet to you, it feels loud. The air has data, and your spirit decodes it effortlessly. That's why people start acting strange around you, stuttering, oversharing, overcompensating, or going completely silent. It's not your presence that's intimidating, it's what your presence activates. Their secrets feel exposed, their masks start slipping, and they can't figure out how you know, they just know that you do. You haven't said a word, but you've already read the script, seen the backstory, and caught the agenda. Spiritually, they're wide open around you, and they know it. You're not asking questions like you used to, you don't need to. Their energy says more than their mouth ever could. That fake smile, it lands different now. That checking on you text. Your gut tells you what it really means. You're not decoding words, you're decoding intention. And most people aren't used to being seen that clearly, especially not by someone who used to doubt themselves. Now they're on edge, trying to figure out how you see what you see. But it's not a game to you. It's just alignment. It's just spiritual clarity. And the more you trust it, the more transparent people become. Not because they want to be, but because they can't hide from what your intuition exposes. They feel spiritually naked around you because, truthfully, they are. Number 10. They're whispering about you because you're seeing things that were never meant to be seen. They thought you'd stop at the surface. They thought you'd catch a lie here, a shady action there, and maybe call it a day. But your intuition didn't stop at spotting red flags. It kept digging. Now you're seeing the root, not just the rotten fruit. You're not just pointing out the betrayal. You're understanding why it happened, what shaped it, what darkness it came from. And that's what has people whispering. You're not just exposing individuals, you're exposing entire systems. You've started seeing through the patterns people were trained not to question, the dysfunction that was passed down like family heirlooms, the silent rules, the generational cover-ups, the trauma dressed up as tradition. You're decoding behaviors that were normalized for years and realizing they were never normal. They were toxic, strategic, embedded into the bloodline to protect cycles of silence, control, and manipulation. Your spirit didn't just wake up. It started remembering what you were told to forget, remembering what others were too scared to face. And that's what's making people uncomfortable. You're not just confronting personal issues, you're confronting ancient ones. The ones that were buried so deep, entire families, communities, and systems hoped no one would ever notice. But you noticed. And now they're scrambling, whispering behind your back, trying to discredit you. Because when you start revealing the why behind the pain, the shame, the abuse, you start shaking foundations. You're not tearing down people for the sake of drama. You're tearing down lies that have been holding entire structures together, and that's dangerous to anyone who benefits from the illusion. You're not just intuitive. You're disruptive to darkness. You weren't meant to stay silent or small. You were meant to uncover, to break cycles, to challenge the narrative. That's why they're whispering. Not because you're wrong, but because deep down, they know you're absolutely right. And they're terrified of what you might reveal next. Number 11. They know you've become spiritually unbribable. You used to fall for it. The sweet talk, the sudden kindness, the carefully crafted apologies wrapped in half-truths. They used to know exactly what to say to reel you back in. A little charm, a little flattery, a few empty promises. And just like that, they had your energy again. But that version of you doesn't exist anymore. Your spirit has leveled up, and now you're spiritually unbribable. They can't bait you with what used to work. Not with compliments, not with guilt, not even with the idea of potential. Your intuition has developed a filter that immediately rejects manipulation disguised as affection. You don't fall for timing anymore. You read patterns. You don't get hooked on words. You watch behavior. They might still think they're clever, but you're not even available to be fooled. That part of you is gone, and that's what's really bothering them. Not that you walked away, but that they can't reach you anymore. That no matter how many times they try to come back around, your discernment meets them at the door before your heart even gets involved. You've disconnected emotionally, spiritually, energetically. You see right through the performance, and worse, you're no longer emotionally reactive to it. You don't argue, you don't explain, you just see and move accordingly. That silence, that distance, that refusal to play into their emotional economy, that's the real power move. And it drives manipulators insane, because they don't know how to function when the person they once controlled no longer buys what they're selling. You're not cold. You're not heartless. You're clear. Your discernment is too sharp to be bought. Your peace is too expensive to be negotiated. They tried everything: nostalgia, pity, temptation, threats. But nothing works now, because once your spirit recognizes what something truly is, no illusion can repackage it. And so they sit with their frustration. Not just because they lost access to you, but because they can't buy the version of you that would have stayed. That version evolved. That version woke up. And now no charm, no mask, and no lie is strong enough to override what your intuition already knows. Number 12. Your inner world has grown louder than their external noise, and that's their worst nightmare. You've reached a level where the voice inside you speaks with more authority than the noise around you, and that right there, that's what they never saw coming. For so long, they had the upper hand, shaping how you saw yourself, controlling how you interpreted situations, feeding you just enough praise to keep you dependent, and just enough doubt to keep you off balance. But now, that tactic is useless because you're not listening to them anymore. You're listening to you. Your inner world has grown louder than their distractions, louder than their tactics, louder than their opinions. You're not seeking outside validation like you used to. You don't need applause, approval, or permission. Why? Because you've come to trust the voice that always knew the truth, the one they worked hard to silence, the one that said, "This isn't love," the one that whispered, "Something's not right," the one that told you to walk away, even when it didn't make sense to anyone else. And now that you're tuned in to that voice, it's over for the manipulators. Because their control relied on your confusion. They needed you to doubt yourself, to question your instincts, to outsource your worth. But that version of you doesn't live here anymore. The new you listens inward first, and only inward. If it doesn't sit right with your spirit, it's a no. If the energy is off, you're gone. No more second guessing. No more talking yourself out of your own clarity. That scares them more than anything. Because once a chosen one truly aligns with their inner guidance, they become impossible to puppeteer. You're not reacting, you're responding. With wisdom, with calm, with a certainty that rattles anyone who built their identity on keeping you uncertain. Now they see it in your eyes, the stillness, the strength, the fact that you know who you are, and you no longer need them to confirm it. You've reclaimed your inner authority, and that's the kind of power that can't be influenced, manipulated, or shaken. That's why they're panicking, because once your inner voice got louder than their noise, their power over you died. Number 13. You're no longer protecting people from what you know. And that's why they're panicking. You used to bite your tongue out of compassion. You used to dim your awareness just to keep the peace. You'd feel something was off, but you wouldn't say a word. Not because you didn't know, but because you didn't want to make others uncomfortable with the truth. You gave people room to clean it up themselves. You gave them grace, patience, the benefit of the doubt, again and again. But now, that phase is over. You've stopped protecting people from what you know. You've stopped shielding them from the mirror your intuition naturally holds up. You're no longer doing emotional gymnastics to make others feel okay about the fact that you see right through them. And that shift, it's making them panic. It's not even that you're confronting them directly. You don't have to. Your energy speaks before you do. Your silence has weight now. Your presence alone exposes what used to stay hidden. That stare you give, that pause before you respond, it shakes people because they feel the truth behind it. They can sense that you know more than they want you to. They can sense that you've already figured them out and that no amount of charm or performance is going to save them. This version of you doesn't play dumb, doesn't pretend not to notice, doesn't water yourself down for comfort. And for people who once relied on your silence to survive in their deception, that's terrifying. Because now the illusion is cracking, and they can't control the narrative anymore. The truth is, your spirit used to protect them more than they realized. You held space for people who were never honest with you. You covered their darkness with your light. But now that you've pulled that light back, now that you've let the truth stand on its own, their shadows are fully exposed. They know it, and they're scrambling, not because you're attacking them, but because you're no longer protecting them from the consequence of being seen. You stopped cushioning their lies with your silence, and now they have to face exactly what your spirit has known all along. Number 14, you're a living prophecy in real time, and they feel exposed by your presence. You're not just living, you're revealing. Everything about your journey has started to feel prophetic, not just to you, but to the people around you. And that's what has them shaken. It's not just that you know things, it's how you know. It's the way you speak on things that haven't happened yet. And then they happen. It's how you mention something in passing and later it plays out exactly as you sensed it. You're moving like someone with the script in your back pocket. And the truth is, you are. Your life isn't unfolding randomly. It's unfolding with purpose, precision, and divine timing. And your intuition? That's the narrator, calling things out, foreshadowing twists, pulling truths out of thin air. You say things that cut deeper than people are ready for, and it's not because you're trying to hurt anyone. It's because your spirit is pulling back the curtain without asking for permission. And that has people rattled. You've become a mirror and a megaphone at the same time. Just being in your presence makes people feel like their secrets are floating to the surface. Because your energy doesn't just detect, it declares. Your words start hitting like confirmations. Your insights start sounding like prophecies, and the people who thought they could keep parts of themselves hidden, they're realizing that you already knew. They don't fear your voice because it's loud. They fear it because it's accurate. You've been saying things you had no reason to know. You've been walking away from things right before they collapsed. You've been stepping into blessings that were spoken over you long before you could see them, and people who once doubted you, now they're watching quietly, wondering how you keep being right. Because your life isn't just a story. It's divine strategy unfolding in real time. And the scariest part for those still hiding behind performance and pretense, your intuition keeps telling the truth, not just about the world but about them. And nothing exposes the fake like standing next to something or someone real. So let them whisper, let them watch, let them shift nervously in your presence. Because what's really happening here is spiritual accountability. You're not just intuitive, you're aligned. You're not just picking up on things, you're decoding patterns, cycles, intentions, and shadows that have been hiding in plain sight for years. You are walking clarity in a world that survives on confusion. You are a living disruption to manipulation, delusion, and masked behavior. And the most powerful part? You didn't ask for this awakening. It called you. It pulled you out of the fog, cleaned your spiritual lens, and tuned your frequency so precisely that you can now hear what's not being said, feel what's being cloaked, and sense the story before the first word is spoken. You're not paranoid. You're not doing too much. You're finally walking in what was always yours, spiritual sight. They're not panicking because you changed. They're panicking because they can't use who you used to be. The sweet, confused, overly trusting version of you is gone. The one who overlooked their energy, ignored your own inner voice, and swallowed truth just to keep relationships alive. That version no longer exists. And now that you've upgraded, you've become untouchable in the ways that used to make you vulnerable. You're not reacting out of fear. You're responding from wisdom. You're not bitter. You're aware. And your awareness has become their worst nightmare because it confronts everything they thought they could hide. So keep holding that gaze. Keep trusting that gut. Keep walking in that quiet power that makes people adjust themselves before you even speak. Your intuition is not a weakness. It is divine protection, a gift, a weapon, a compass. And now that you've learned to trust it, there's no going back. Only forward. You are not here to conform. You are here to awaken. And your presence alone is doing more damage to deception than 1,000 loud voices ever could. They feel it. The real ones respect it. And the rest? Let them talk. Because they're only confirming that your light is doing exactly what it's meant to do. Expose the darkness that never thought it would be seen. This message hit your spirit. Don't just keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. These aren't just words. This is spiritual confirmation. And someone out there is silently praying for exactly this kind of truth. Make sure you like this video if it spoke to you. Comment below and let us know which part resonated most. Your voice matters here. I read every comment, and I love connecting with real ones on this journey. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications, because we're not watering anything down. We're diving deeper, going higher, and exposing what was never meant to stay hidden. This is more than content. It's a movement, a calling, and you belong here. Share this video with your tribe, your friends, your community, and keep being the light that shakes the room without saying a word. Your intuition is loud for a reason. Keep trusting it. Keep walking boldly in your truth. Welcome to the shift. God bless you.